The Coaching the Van Driver 2 course is intended to refresh and upgrade your defensive driving skills, regardless of your experience in driving a van. Throughout the course, you will be able to answer questions and analyze traffic situations by using the response book. Also, at the end of this course, you will be given directions as to how to take the final test so you can receive certification documenting your successful completion of this course. Please arrange your work area so you can see and easily stop and start the VCR. Also, you should have a pen or pencil and the participant response book. Now, let's get started. Please turn to page 3 in your response book and answer questions 1 through 16 as completely as possible. At the end of the course, we will refer you to these pages so you can check your answers. After you finish answering question 16, restart the video. Stop video. Now, let's watch the first video presentation, Introduction, Vehicle Inspection, and Vehicle Characteristics.
Vehicle inspection. Safe driving begins even before you get on the road with a vehicle inspection. If your van is not in good operating condition, it may be impossible to operate it safely. Your inspection begins as you approach the van. Look underneath for excessive leaks or loose parts, such as a hanging muffler. Check to see that the van is not leaning to one side, indicating a problem with the suspension system. Check for obvious damage, such as cracked light lenses or windows, and that the windshield wiper blades are in good condition. Get in the van and turn on the exterior lights. Check that all of the lights are working properly. Know your organization's policy on the use of headlights while you're driving. Some require their use at all times. When inspecting the engine compartment, the engine should be off and the keys in your pocket. Check all fluid levels, including the radiator level when the engine is cool. Inspect all hoses and cable connections for excess wear. Make sure the fan belts have proper tension and are not frayed or cracked. Check the condition and pressure of all tires. The most accurate way is to use a gauge to check the tire pressure and a gauge to check the tread depth. Make sure the hubcaps are secure. When you're finished outside, turn off your lights. Inside the van, test the horn, the windshield wipers and washer, and the backup alarm if your van has one. Check all indicator lights and gauges. Make sure the seat is not loose and is properly adjusted for you. You should be able to reach the floor pedals, steering wheel, and all other controls comfortably without reaching. You should not be so close that your movement is restricted. Inspect the front seat areas. They should be clear of any loose items. An object can easily roll under your brake pedal and prohibit you from stopping your vehicle. Many drivers put items on the engine cover in a van, which might seem to be a good place for a clipboard or papers. However, when making a turn or stopping sharply, these items can slide off. If you grab for them, your attention is directed away from your driving. Don't take a chance. Keep the entire front seat area clear. Adjust your mirrors to reduce your blind spots as much as possible. You should be able to see the side of the van in the edge of your left mirror. You should also be able to see the side of your van in your right mirror. If you have large side mirrors, you should also be able to see your right rear tire. Adjust the inside mirror to give you the maximum view out of the back. However, even with properly adjusted mirrors, your van will still have some blind spots. In this setup situation, a vehicle is positioned on the driver's side of the van. From inside the van, the driver is unable to see the vehicle in the left side mirror. With a convex or spot mirror, the vehicle might be visible. However, it would look small and far away. It is difficult to judge distances in a convex mirror. By leaning forward in the seat, the driver increases his sight angle and is able to see the car in the big mirror. With the vehicle on the right side, the driver has the same problem. The car is not visible in the side mirror and only comes into view when the driver leans forward in the seat to change the sight angle. With a passenger van, check to be sure that the inside is clean and that all interior lighting is operational. Inspect the seats to be sure they are secure and in good condition. Most importantly, make sure that the safety belts are out and accessible to each passenger. Before moving the van, adjust the steering wheel so the airbag is directed toward your chest, not your face. Also, put on your safety belt. Not only will it reduce the likelihood of a serious injury in the event of a collision, it will also help you stay in your seat so you can maintain better control of the van. Lock the doors, and if you have any passengers, make sure everyone is buckled up. A final note. As you are aware, you should never drive under the influence of alcohol and/or illegal drugs. Not only do they impair your ability to drive safely, but they can also cause you to lose your license and your job. Vehicle characteristics. As a van driver, you know that there are major differences between a passenger car and a van. Vans are generally higher and wider than most cars. When loaded, they are normally heavier than a car, and some vans are longer than the average passenger car. A major difference between your car and a van is the size and location of blind spots. These blind spots can vary depending on the type of van. For instance, passenger vans have side and rear windows in the back, and most cargo vans do not. Even though you may have a higher and clearer view of the road ahead than passenger car drivers, there are still areas around your van that you cannot see. Because vans are higher, they have a higher center of gravity and can tip more easily. As a result, you must slow down more as you approach curves. Also, because you are sitting over the front wheels, you have a different angle when you turn. You will have to take this into account when turning so you don't cut too sharply. Because of their height and flat size, vans are more affected by wind than passenger cars. Strong gusts of wind can suddenly push you into another lane or off the road. This is especially tricky when you are exiting a tunnel and are caught by a sudden gust of wind. You must read the weather conditions and slow down on a windy day. With passengers or cargo, a van is usually heavier than a car, so its acceleration is slower and its stopping distance is longer. The longer stopping distance requires that you increase your following distance. With many vans, you must watch your overhead and side clearances, and with extended vans, allow for the long overhangs at the back. Parking, whether on street or in a lot, can be more difficult because of your size.
Now, answer questions 1 and 2 on page 7 of your response book. After you finish with question 2, restart the video. Stop video. Now, let's review the recommended answers to questions 1 and 2. Question 1. Blind spots. Vans generally have larger blind spots on the sides and to the rear. Weight. Vans are generally heavier than a car, especially when loaded with passengers, which causes them to accelerate more slowly and to require a longer stopping distance. Size. Vans are generally wider, longer, and higher than a car, which makes them more susceptible to high winds. A van's height also requires more overhead clearance. Center of gravity. Vans have a higher center of gravity, which causes them to tip more easily. Other considerations. As opposed to a car, the van driver's position over the front wheels changes his or her perspective of the driving environment. Also, the overhang of the van, that is, the distance between the rear tire and the bumper, is important to consider when backing. Question 2. Blind spots. You can compensate for the van's larger blind spots by adjusting your mirrors properly and by leaning in your seat to increase your sight angle. Wait. When pulling out in traffic, allow more distance to compensate for a van's slower acceleration. Size. In windy conditions, or when coming out of a tunnel, anticipate that the wind may move the van. Keep both hands on the wheel and try to keep a cushion around the van so you don't drift into another vehicle. Center of gravity. Decrease your speed below the posted speed in exit or entry areas, or before entering curves in the roadway. Other considerations. When you must back, make sure you have enough overhang clearance. Session 2. Our next session is called Safe Driving Skills and will cover specific driving techniques that are essential to collision-free driving, including the concept of keeping a cushion of safety around your van.
Safe driving skills. Being a safe driver is not a matter of luck. Only by understanding and using safe driving skills can you reduce your chances of being involved in a collision. One of the most important safe driving skills is maintaining a cushion of safety around your van whenever possible, trying to keep the front, both sides, and the rear free of other traffic. Doing so will keep you a safe distance away from the hazards other vehicles present and allow you enough time to avoid problems that arise. Your cushion of safety in front is the one over which you have the most control. The more time you spend driving with this front area free of other traffic, the more time you will have to scan ahead, behind, and alongside your vehicle to anticipate upcoming hazards, reducing your chances of being involved in a collision. How much distance is a safe distance? Of course, the more distance you can put between you and the vehicle ahead, the better. But you can't keep miles of clear space ahead. That would be impossible and impractical. However, you should try to keep enough clear distance so that, should the vehicle ahead suddenly stop, you would be able to stop before hitting it. What would happen to the driver tailgating the vehicle in the lane to your left if the driver in front were to suddenly hit the brakes? By allowing room in front of your van, you have given that driver an out to the right if he can react in time. He clearly is not following at a safe distance. But how much distance is a safe distance? A safe following distance is based on your total stopping distance. Your total stopping distance is determined by 3 factors. The first, perception distance, is the distance your van travels from the time you first spot a hazard to the time you make the decision to begin braking. The second, reaction distance, is the distance your van travels from the time you decide to brake until the time you actually begin braking. Average reaction time is approximately 3/4 of a second. A good technique to reduce your reaction distance and put yourself on ready alert when you spot a problem is to cover the brake, not braking, but moving your foot from the accelerator to over the brake. By doing this, you are intent on the conditions around you. Your vehicle is gradually slowing, and you are ready to brake immediately if necessary. The last factor, braking distance, is the distance your van travels once the brakes are applied until it comes to a stop. A safe following distance is a distance greater than your total stopping distance. This distance will give you enough space to bring your vehicle to a stop without colliding with the vehicle ahead. In a van, you should allow at least a 4-second following distance. By using a 4-second following distance, you will automatically follow at longer distances as your speed increases. An easy way to check your following distance is to begin counting as the vehicle ahead reaches a stationary object, such as the bridge overpass ahead. Begin counting. If you count 1004 before you reach the overpass, you have a 4-second following distance. This 4-second following distance is only considered to be adequate in the most ideal conditions. That is, with good brakes and tires on dry, firm roads with good visibility, etc. Whenever driving conditions become anything less than ideal, such as in rain, on snowy roads, or on dirt roads, or when your vehicle weight increases with a full load of cargo or passengers, increase your following distance to more than 4 seconds. Some drivers feel that 4 seconds is too much, that other drivers will just cut in front. But remember, most drivers who cut in will soon cut back out. Besides, by allowing space to stop, you will not have to concentrate all of your attention on the vehicle in front. You will have time to check to the sides and behind your vehicle, and time to scan ahead so you can anticipate upcoming problems. Many drivers pay little attention to the cushion of safety along the sides of their vehicles. Try to avoid driving for extended periods of time with another vehicle alongside your van. Even with properly adjusted mirrors, you still have blind spots on either side of your van. Leaning in your seat will reduce but not eliminate these side blind spots. You can further reduce the left side blind spot by turning your head to check. If your van has windows on the right rear, turning your head to check will reduce the blind spot on your right side. Because you will always have blind spots around your van, it is recommended that you scan in your mirrors every 3 to 5 seconds. That way, you will see a vehicle as it is moving into one of your blind spots before it becomes totally hidden. In this situation, the car in the lane to the left is tailgating the pickup truck. If the driver of the pickup were to brake suddenly, the driver of the car behind might cut right in front of you to avoid a collision. As you move up, your van moves into the car's right rear blind spot, the area created by the rear window posts. If you cannot see the other driver's rear view mirror through his rear window, you are probably in a blind spot. Now, if the driver tries to cut in front of you to avoid hitting the pickup, he would probably collide with you. In fact, the driver would probably not have time to try to check for you before starting to change lanes. You would be involved in a collision that you could have avoided by keeping that vehicle out of your cushion of safety. Adjust your speed to move out of this vulnerable position. Increase your side cushions whenever possible by positioning your van within your lane to avoid potential hazards. For example, here you have positioned your vehicle to the left side of your lane to allow for the driver getting into her vehicle and the bus at the curb. This position has given you an extra margin of safety on your right, and you do not have to swing wide at the last second to avoid hitting the car door. Do not forget about the area behind your van. Some drivers may feel they have no control over this area and therefore ignore it. But as you know, tailgaters are also a problem for van drivers. Some drivers will even draft behind vans. If you must stop quickly, they may hit you before they realize you are stopping. Check your rear view mirror frequently, every 3 to 5 seconds. Whenever you spot a tailgater, increase your following distance to allow more stopping distance. You will be able to stop more gradually, giving the tailgater more time to react. This technique will also encourage the tailgater to pass. The first step in becoming a safer driver is to try to maintain a complete cushion of safety around your vehicle. Remember, follow a safe distance behind the vehicle ahead, a minimum of 4 seconds. Try to keep other drivers out of your side cushions, and protect your rear cushion of safety by checking your mirrors every 3 to 5 seconds. If you do get a tailgater, increase your following distance. By maintaining a cushion of safety, you will keep potential problems far enough away for you to avoid them.
Now, please turn to page 9 in your response book and answer the situations and questions on pages 9 through 11. When you are finished, restart the video. Stop video. The recommended answer to situation 3 is yes. This was a preventable collision. A had a false sense of security because he had no one in front of or behind him. A should have anticipated the possibility that B would consider a lane change because B was traveling behind an oversized vehicle, C. A should also have realized that he was traveling in B's blind spot and adjusted his speed to move out of it. The recommended answer to situation 4 is yes. This was a preventable collision. A was maintaining a safe following distance for ideal conditions, which was not the case in this situation. It was not only raining, which increases stopping distance, but A also had a tailgater. By increasing her following distance behind B, A would have had more room to stop or slow safely, which would also have given the tailgater, C, more time to respond. This driver forgot to compensate for both the rainy conditions and the tailgater. Session 3. Until now, we have been discussing several critical driving safety techniques for preventing collisions, such as maintaining a cushion of safety and covering the brake. Now, let's apply these techniques in various driving environments.
Driving environments. When you are on the road with other vehicles, your cushion of safety gives you time to react to hazards. To spot potential problems before they are dangerously close, scan your driving environment. Since you are maintaining a cushion of safety all around your van, you do not have to concentrate all your attention on the vehicle in front. When driving in the city, try to scan about 12 to 15 seconds ahead, which is about 1 to 1.5 blocks. Scanning this far ahead will alert you to hazards, such as the double-parked UPS truck. By spotting the truck well ahead, you gave yourself ample opportunity to signal, check traffic, and move into the left lane before getting stuck in the right lane. Your scan will also pick up clues that will give you an early warning of potential hazards. Here, the step van blocks your view of the pedestrian crosswalk. Is there a pedestrian starting to cross? Is this driver going to pull out in front of you? Scanning along this line of parked vehicles reveals several with taillights flashing. An intersection with pedestrians crossing against the red light. Another block of vehicles with taillights flashing. And, to add to the hazards, a pedestrian jaywalking from the left. Without a safe following distance, you would not be able to spot these hazards in time to react safely. If you spot jaywalkers at the side of the street, be careful as you approach, covering the brake. They may not see you or may assume that you will stop and step right out in front. Even if the jaywalkers are looking right at you, it is no guarantee that they will wait. Eye contact is no guarantee. Would it be best to stop and wave the jaywalkers across the street? Never stop to wave jaywalkers across the street. Other drivers don't expect you to stop mid-block and may run into you from behind. Also, you cannot control other traffic and may put the pedestrians in danger. If you close behind an oversized vehicle, not only are you jeopardizing your cushion of safety, but you are also driving blind, unable to scan ahead to anticipate problems. Back off immediately and establish a safe following distance. Now you're able to scan ahead and spot the utility vehicle on the right. You can cover the brake and move to the left side of your lane in case the driver gets out. Intersections are the site of many collisions. Too often, drivers fail to scan properly before entering an intersection, and before they have a chance to react, they are involved in a collision. Before entering this intersection, even with a green light, you must scan to the left to be sure all cross traffic is stopped. Check ahead to spot any oncoming drivers waiting to turn left. They might cut in front, figuring that you'll slow down for them. If you were in the right lane, you would check for a driver that might turn right on a red light or for pedestrians that might try to cross. Many drivers and pedestrians will try to beat a truck or van, perhaps misjudging their speed. Here you note that the lanes shift to the right. By noting the lane shift early, you were prepared for the vehicle that cut in front. Drive defensively and be ready. If you must stop behind another vehicle while waiting for a red light, stop far enough back so you can see the rear tires of the vehicle and some pavement. If the driver ahead stalls, you will have room to pull around without backing up. When the driver starts, count for 2 seconds before starting. Waiting a moment will give you an extra margin of safety in case the driver ahead starts and then stops suddenly. When making a right turn, be sure to signal well in advance, at least 100 feet. Check your mirrors and move to the right of your lane to prevent another vehicle or a cyclist from squeezing by on your right. If you must stop for a red light, stop before the stop line and crosswalk. When the light turns green, check cross traffic, oncoming traffic for drivers waiting to turn left, and pedestrians at the corner who might step off the curb to cross. As you turn, swing wide enough so your rear wheel does not hit the curb. Don't forget to cancel your turn signal after completing the turn. When making a right turn on red where permitted, remember that a loaded van needs a larger brake in cross traffic to complete the turn safely. First, signal and stop behind the crosswalk to check for crossing pedestrians and traffic. You must yield the right-of-way to them. If your view is obstructed, you can pull up farther to check again. When clear, make your turn, canceling your signal when complete. Avoid left turns whenever possible. They're especially dangerous because you must cross other lanes of traffic. However, if you must turn left, try to turn at controlled intersections with designated left turn lanes. After signaling and checking traffic, move into the left lane early. Signal, check mirrors, and move into the designated left turn lane as soon as permitted. Since you have to stop and wait for the light to change, remember to stop far enough behind the vehicle ahead so, if necessary, you can pull around without backing up. When the green arrow comes on, scan to be sure cross traffic is stopped and the oncoming traffic is waiting. If you have a choice of 2 lanes from which to make a left turn, use the lane on the right. You are able to see vehicles on your left more easily than vehicles on your right. As with any left turn, check for oncoming drivers who might be making a right turn on red ahead of you. If you must turn left at an intersection without a protected left turn, wait with your wheels straight for a break in traffic. Doing so will prevent your vehicle from being pushed into oncoming traffic if you're struck from behind. If the light changes as you approach an intersection, make sure you stop before the stop line and crosswalk. However, if you do stop in a crosswalk, don't back up. With a blind spot behind your van, you might not see a vehicle or pedestrian. A good way to fine-tune your safe driving skills is through commentary driving, analyzing the driving situation out loud. For example, in this situation, you would say to yourself, "There's a person coming out between the parked cars. Will she cross in front of me? A little further ahead, there is an open car door with a person reaching inside. Will that person back out of the car in front of me? I'll cover the brake and stay to the left side of my lane to be ready. Now the car in front is braking, and I see a pedestrian waiting in the crosswalk. I'll stay back and maintain my following distance." Rural areas are normally less congested than cities, but scanning and maintaining a cushion of safety are no less important. As with city driving, you often have little room to maneuver. Narrow roads, soft shoulders, telephone poles, drop-offs, bridges, and other obstructions can make it difficult to steer around a problem. Sometimes your ability to scan well ahead is limited by heavy vegetation, hills, crops, buildings, and curves. When approaching a curve, slow to below the posted speed limit, since your vehicle is more top-heavy than a car. In addition, you may not be able to scan at least 4 seconds ahead. Immediately reduce your speed so you will not be surprised by what may be around the corner. With your options to avoid hazards limited, check continuously for a possible escape lane in the event of an emergency. Look for wide, firm shoulders and areas without sharp drop-offs, utility poles, trees, etc. If you are forced off the road and onto the shoulder, reduce your speed. Grip the wheel firmly and keep your vehicle under control. It is best to come to a complete stop before attempting to re-enter the roadway. Attempting to return to the roadway at a high speed may cause you to lose control of your vehicle. Watch for hidden roadways or driveways. Often drivers will inch into the road to get a better view. If the driver is on your side, it is a direct hazard to you. If the driveway is on the other side of the road, oncoming drivers may be forced into your lane to avoid the vehicle. Whenever you spot a vehicle inching out on either side of the road, cover your brake and sound your horn. Be ready to stop if the driver decides to pull out in front of you. As you approach a rural intersection, scan for drivers approaching the intersection from the cross streets and for oncoming drivers that may attempt to turn left in front of you. Even at intersections controlled by stop signs or traffic lights, you should never assume that other drivers will slow, stop, or yield. Be ready for drivers who may try to beat you through the intersection, even if you think you have the right of way. Limited access highways are hazardous because of their high speeds. Interchanges are especially hazardous because of the mix of high-speed through traffic with low-speed entering and exiting traffic. As you prepare to enter a highway, put your turn signal on. If you are following another vehicle, stay behind at least 4 seconds. If the vehicle ahead should stop before merging, you will have room to stop. Staying back will also let you scan for a break in traffic and give you room to accelerate into it. Be sure to check your mirror and blind spot before moving onto the highway. Turn your head to check, since your mirrors may not pick up other vehicles across multiple lanes, and another driver might be moving into your break in traffic. On the highway, scan about a quarter of a mile ahead, or about 12 to 15 seconds down the road. Watch for sudden brake lights, vehicles on the side of the roadway, approaching interchanges, and in this case, merging lanes due to road construction. By spotting this traffic merging arrow well ahead, you can anticipate traffic merging from the lane on your left, and by scanning your mirrors every 3 to 5 seconds, you knew about the vehicles approaching from behind that might cut in front of you. Covering the brake allowed you to re-establish a safe following distance each time a driver moved into your lane. Information signs, overpasses, and overhead lights are clues that you are approaching an interchange. Early warning of any of these situations will give you an opportunity to prepare well in advance by slowing or changing lanes as necessary. Remember, when vehicles are traveling at a high rate of speed, things happen very quickly. Always try to maintain your cushion of safety. Follow no closer than 4 seconds, more if you have a tailgater. Adjust your speed to avoid having other vehicles in your side cushions mile after mile. Notice even with the heavy traffic, it is possible to maintain a safe following distance. Check your mirrors every 3 to 5 seconds to pick up any vehicles moving into one of your blind spots. Also look for vehicles passing you that may cut in front. A very dangerous situation can occur as cars pass you on both sides. Because your van is large, the drivers may not see each other and move into your lane as they pass you. Watch for this pinch point and drop back by covering your brake. If possible, know the location of your exit in advance. Don't get caught trying to exit at the last minute. If you do pass your exit, don't stop on the shoulder and back up to the exit. Drive on and exit at the next interchange. Then come back to the correct exit. Never back up on a highway. As you approach your exit, signal well in advance. Check your left mirror for a vehicle approaching from behind that might try to beat you to the exit. Move into the designated exit lane at its earliest point to prevent another vehicle from moving up into your right rear blind spot. Slow to below the posted exit ramp speed. Ramp speeds are safe for cars only. Since your van is larger and has a higher center of gravity, there is a greater risk of rollover or a rear skid. In poor weather conditions, you should slow even more.
Please turn to page 13 in your response book and complete questions 5 through 11. When you are finished with question 11, restart the video. Stop video. The recommended answer to question 5 is to stop far enough behind the vehicle ahead so you can see its back tires and some pavement. In this position, if necessary, you would be able to pull around the vehicle without backing up. To make a right turn, you should signal well in advance at least 100 feet, stay to the right to prevent others from trying to squeeze by on the right, scan for pedestrians on the cross street, and check your right rear wheel to be sure it is tracking properly. The recommended answer to question 6 is to come to a complete stop before the crosswalk and yield to pedestrians. If clear, pull forward to check again for traffic and for pedestrians on the cross street. Since a van generally accelerates more slowly than a car, you will need a larger brake in traffic to make the turn safely. The recommended answer to question 7 is A. Should have made the turn from lane 2. In this lane, all other turning vehicles would be to A's left, where they would be out of his right rear blind spot and easier for him to monitor. The recommended answer to question 8 is passing on 2-lane rural roads can be especially risky because of the dense vegetation and hidden driveways. In this case, A was probably so fixated on B that he failed to scan the area well enough to have spotted C waiting to enter the roadway. A should never have attempted the pass with C in that position. Before any pass, a driver should ask him or herself, is the pass really necessary? Especially since passing rarely puts a driver in a safer position. The decision to pass must weigh the danger of passing with the convenience of saving time. To pass, a driver should be traveling at least 5 miles per hour faster than the vehicle ahead without exceeding the speed limit. There should be enough free road ahead to complete the pass safely. Of course, drivers should avoid passing before or in a curve or over hills. The recommended answer to question 9 is A was doing the right thing by not treating the intersection casually. She obviously scanned ahead and slowed, anticipating a potential problem. However, she made the mistake of assuming that because she thought she had established eye contact with the other driver, that it was okay to proceed ahead. Unfortunately, eye contact is never a guarantee that the other driver will respond the way a driver thinks he or she will. A should have covered the brake to prepare to stop if necessary. The recommended answer to question 10 is, you should signal early while on the ramp. Stay well back from B. Be prepared for B to accelerate and merge ahead of C, or for B to slow down and merge behind C. After B has merged, use your mirrors and glance over your shoulder to check for a break in traffic and to check across lanes. Choose a brake large enough for your van to enter the highway smoothly without causing traffic on the highway to slow behind you. Merge and cancel your directional signal. The recommended answer to question 11 is, since A was not planning to exit the highway for another 8 miles, she should have considered traveling in the middle lane to avoid entering and exiting traffic. Once in this situation, however, A should not have relied on eye contact to assume that B would wait for her to pass before merging. Had A scanned her mirrors and been aware that C had moved into her blind spot, the logical option would have been for A to slow and let B merge ahead of her. In Session 4, called Special Considerations, we will cover specific driving situations that contribute to or are the site of a high number of van collisions: backing, driving at night, and adverse weather conditions.
Special considerations. Backing is a maneuver that results in many van collisions. If at all possible, avoid backing. However, your work may require you to back. In fact, you may have to back into the same places day after day. If so, don't assume that it's always going to be safe and clear of obstructions. Check the area you will back into each day as though it were the first time. Try to approach the area so you can back to the driver's side, which will give you a better view of your path of travel. Check for any obstructions, including parked cars, posts, curbs, and potholes. Check for any pedestrians in or approaching the area. If you have any doubt if your path is clear, get out and check the area. Remember, a backup alarm does not guarantee a safe back. That's your responsibility. Roll down your window and turn down any radios. Doing so will allow you to hear a warning from outside the van. Many drivers who have had backing collisions reported that they didn't even know they had hit something. Back slowly, checking your mirrors to be sure nothing has moved into your path. Watch for overhead obstructions and side clearances. Remember, your van is higher and wider than most passenger vehicles. Try to avoid backing into traffic. It is much safer to back from the street into the location, so you can pull forward when leaving. When you back from the street, you have a good view of traffic in both directions. If you were to back out of the site into the street, the entire back of your vehicle would be in the street before you could get a clear view of traffic. If possible, use a helper when you back. Before starting, agree on hand signals, especially the one for stop. Don't rely on verbal directions. You may not be able to hear them. Position your helper to the rear so he or she can see behind the van where you cannot. Pick a location where you can see the helper in your mirror at all times. Never allow your helper to stand directly behind the van. Back slowly, keeping an eye on both your path and your helper. If you lose sight of your helper, stop immediately. Often you will be traveling the same stretches of road day after day, so you know which areas are hazardous. Be prepared for problems as you approach each area. Move into the safest lane ahead of time. Keep track of the changes in your route, such as road construction, new or missing traffic control devices, and changing road surfaces. You may have to modify your driving or change your route. While knowing your route well can be an advantage, don't become so complacent that you take safety for granted. Always maintain your cushion of safety and your scanning, and keep checking your mirrors. As well as you know your route, surprises always happen. If possible, avoid school districts in the early morning and later afternoon, as well as residential areas when children are out. Sometimes you may need to use a cell phone or other communication device. As a professional, you must use it safely. It is best to use your phone only when you are stopped. If you must use it on the road, make sure you are on a straightaway. Increase your following distance to give yourself an extra margin of safety. Also, you should be able to use it without taking your eyes off the road, and put it down before attempting to steer around a curve. If you have to drive at night, reduce your speed since your visibility is limited. Give yourself more time to react to hazards. Make sure your 4-second following distance fits within the range of your headlights. Drive with your high beams on whenever safe. If you are heavily loaded, however, your high beams may be too high. They may shine upward and illuminate less of the road ahead than your low beams. Also, lower your lights within 500 feet of oncoming vehicles or when you are following another vehicle. If you approach an oncoming vehicle with its high beams on, Avoid being blinded by looking to the right side of the road and gauging your position in the lane from the edge of the road. As soon as the vehicle passes, shift your view back to the center. If you're on the road between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., whether in a van or your personal car, you should know that most fatal alcohol-related collisions occur during these hours. Be on the lookout for impaired drivers. Stay away from erratic drivers who may be driving too fast or slow for conditions, making wide turns, driving with no lights, leaving their high beams or turn signals on continuously, etc. Watch for drivers who seem not to be in the flow of traffic. Drop back. Don't attempt to pass these drivers. If you reach your destination at night and must stop on the street to make a delivery, you must turn on your four-way flashers to alert oncoming traffic. However, what happens when you open your rear doors? With the doors open, the flashers are hidden, and the oncoming driver cannot see the van until almost on top of the driver. Try to keep the van doors from blocking your taillights as much as possible. Most drivers can avoid driving in adverse weather conditions, but since you must drive as part of your job, you may not always have that option. As the road becomes wet or covered with snow, your stopping distance increases rapidly. You should reduce your speed and increase your following distance. Similarly, dirt or loose gravel requires slower speeds and longer following distances. Whenever the road is wet, there is a chance of hydroplaning, even at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour. Hydroplaning occurs when water builds up under your tires and actually lifts your van off the road surface. When this happens, your ability to brake and steer is reduced. Conditions are right for hydroplaning whenever you can see reflections on the roadway. Reduce your speed. If you feel your van begin to hydroplane, a gliding, slippery feeling, take your foot off the accelerator to reduce your speed. Avoid sudden braking or steering that could cause a skid. In heavy rain or snow, in blowing dust or sand, or in foggy conditions, reduce your speed. Your view of the road can vanish suddenly in these conditions, so suddenly you may not have time to slow. Slow in advance to anticipate poor visibility.
Please turn to page 24 and complete questions 12 through 19. And continue completing exercises on pages 26 and 27. Also, complete page 28, where you have several questions regarding collision reporting procedures based on your organization's procedures. Stop video. The recommended answers for questions 12 through 18 are as follows. Question 12. You should avoid backing whenever possible. Question 13. Scan the area for obstacles behind, below, and above your van. Use a spotter if available. Be 100% sure your path is clear before starting back. If unsure, stop and get out to check. Back slowly and check your mirrors. Question 14. The signal for stop. Question 15. School areas between early morning and late afternoon hours, and residential areas whenever possible. Question 16. False. Any vehicle, regardless of weight, can hydroplane. Question 17. Reduce your speed and increase your following distance. Question 18. To compensate for reduced visibility at night, you should reduce your speed and make sure your 4-second following distance fits within the range of your headlights. Whenever safe and legal, drive with your high beams on. Another potential hazard at night is the higher probability of sharing the road with impaired drivers. Stay away from drivers who may be driving too fast or slow for conditions, making wide turns, driving with no lights, leaving their high beams or turn signals on continuously, or who may, in general, not seem to be driving with the flow of traffic. Do not attempt to pass them. Consider using your phone or radio to report the possibility of an impaired driver. The coaching point answers are: Question 1. Hydroplaning can occur at sea, speeds as low as 30 miles per hour. Question 2. When using your windshield wipers, you should E. Turn on your headlights. Question 3. When the road is wet, A. Your stopping distance will increase. Question 4. You can reduce your total stopping distance by B. Placing your foot over the brake. Question 5. The driver is responsible for D. Backing safely. The driver's summary answers should include: Scanning. Scan 12 to 15 seconds ahead, which is about 1/4 of a mile on the highway and about 1 to 1.5 blocks in the city. Keeping a cushion of safety. Try to maintain a cushion of safety to the front, sides, and rear of your van by keeping at least a 4-second following distance in ideal conditions, staying out of other drivers' blind spots and trying to keep them out of yours, increasing your following distance when conditions are not ideal, or if you have a tailgater, approaching an intersection. Monitor the status of the traffic light. If turning, signal well in advance, at least 100 feet. Scan to make sure all cross traffic is stopped and to check for oncoming vehicles waiting or attempting to turn left. Check for drivers making a right turn on red. Check for pedestrians. If you inadvertently stop in a crosswalk, don't back up. In an oversized vehicle, it is sometimes difficult to see vehicles or pedestrians behind you. Collision reporting procedures. To review your answers on page 28, after completing this course, please see the individual in charge of your fleet operations to verify the proper procedures.
Transporting cargo. In addition to the safe driving techniques already covered, there are some additional techniques to follow if you transport cargo. Whenever you drive the same route each day, or different routes, try to know the location of the next delivery or pickup in advance. Looking for an unfamiliar address or road while driving can be dangerous because your attention is focused away from the road, traffic, and pedestrians. If you do have to search for a location, compensate by increasing your following distance to give yourself extra stopping distance. Only briefly glance for addresses or street names. If you accidentally pass your delivery location, don't stop suddenly and back up. It is safer to go around the block or to use a turnaround location with good visibility. You know the dangers of backing, especially considering the blind spot directly behind your van. In addition, when trying to back straight, just a slight turn of the wheel could put your vehicle into the next lane. You are not driving defensively if you're backing on a roadway. When making a delivery, it is best to avoid double parking whenever possible, for safety reasons and because it may be illegal in your area. Even if it is legal, other drivers do not expect you to stop in a traffic lane. However, if you must double park where permitted, signal well in advance of your intended stop. Check along the parked traffic to be sure your path ahead is clear, and then move to the right side of your lane. Slow gradually to give drivers behind extra time to adjust to your stopping. Once stopped, turn on your four-way flashers, set your parking brake, turn off your engine, and take your keys. If you must get out on the street side, check traffic before opening the door. Cargo should be loaded with the heaviest items on the bottom to avoid making your van top-heavy, as well as to avoid cargo damage. Secure the cargo as much as possible to avoid shifting. Make sure your cargo is evenly distributed from side to side as well as front to back. Also, make sure the cargo cannot slide forward and hit you in a sudden stop or collision. Try to keep your cargo from blocking your view out any windows. As you pick up and drop off cargo, recheck and adjust the positioning of your load to ensure that it rides safely. Remember, as your load changes, so do your vehicle weight, acceleration, and braking characteristics. You should modify your driving to account for these changes. When you have cargo in your van, you will have to take turns more slowly to avoid having the load shift. A shifting load not only affects the way your van handles, it also increases the risk of damaged cargo.
The key safety points to consider when transporting cargo are: know your route in advance, pick-up and drop-off points. If you are unfamiliar with an area, increase your following distance. If you accidentally pass your delivery location, don't back up. Avoid double parking whenever possible. To keep the cargo from shifting, load the heaviest items on the bottom. This will also help keep your cargo from getting damaged. Distribute the cargo evenly, side to side and front to back. Stack your cargo in such a way as to not block your view out of any windows. Recheck your cargo load and distribution throughout the day. Keep in mind that acceleration and braking characteristics change as your cargo load changes. Take turns slowly to avoid cargo shifts. Our next session deals with specific recommendations regarding transporting passengers. Let's watch.
Transporting passengers. In addition to the safe driving techniques already covered, there are some additional techniques to follow if you transport passengers. You may have to pick up or discharge passengers many times during the day. Try to stop in places with less traffic and where your van is most visible. Try to stop where traffic would most likely expect you to stop. Avoid stopping where passengers must step into traffic when boarding or exiting. If your actions contribute to a passenger's being injured when getting in or out, you could be chargeable. And when passengers must cross the street to get to or from your van, do not wave them across. You cannot control other traffic, and another vehicle might swing around to pass you, not realizing why you are stopped. Let passengers check traffic for themselves and decide when it is clear to cross. When stopping, signal well ahead and move to the right of the lane early to prevent another vehicle from trying to slip by on the right. Slow gradually to allow other drivers time to react. Remember, because your van is higher than a car, the effects of braking are felt more strongly by the passengers. Also, your van needs more time to stop. Turn on your four-way flashers. If you have to get out on the street side, check traffic before opening the door. Make sure you are close enough to the curb so your passenger can step from the van to the curb in one easy step. Or stay far enough away so your passenger can easily step in the road between the van and curb. Don't tempt your passengers to stretch to step from your van to the curb. They might slip and be injured. You are responsible for the safety of your passengers. As a professional, and to show that your organization is concerned with their safety, make sure your passengers are seated and buckled up before moving. Also, make sure the doors are secured and locked. Be aware that some passengers may have special seating requirements and may require your assistance in getting seated safely. If your passengers are children, be aware of the special requirements for transporting children safely. First of all, children 12 and under should ride in a back seat, properly restrained. The choice of an infant carrier, a toddler seat, or a booster seat depends on the age and size of the child. Read the vehicle owner's manual and the installation information provided with each safety seat to ensure proper selection, installation, and use. Especially important since studies have shown that most child safety seats are not installed properly. If your passengers have luggage, try to store the big pieces behind the last seat where they will not tip or slide while you are driving. If passengers have garments to hang, make sure they do not cover windows on the right side of the van. You use these windows when you turn your head to check your right side blind spot area. When you're ready to leave, remember to buckle up, release the emergency brake, turn off the four-way flashers, and check again for traffic before pulling out. Since your van requires a longer distance to accelerate, you need a larger than normal brake in traffic to avoid a rapid start. Passengers lose confidence in drivers who don't give them a smooth ride. On the road, you will probably use many of the same routes every day. You should be able to access high-occupancy vehicle lanes if they are available in your area. Of course, you must have at least the minimum number of passengers on board. Position your vehicle to enter these lanes well in advance of the entrance point. Last-minute lane changes can frighten your passengers and may cause a collision. Passengers who use your van expect you to be a professional who is first and foremost concerned with their safety. It is your responsibility not only to get them there safely, but also to give them an enjoyable, comfortable ride with courtesy.
Now, turn to page 29 in your response book and jot down as many safety considerations as you remember. After you complete page 29, please restart the video. Stop video. The key safety points to consider when transporting passengers are: you should try to stop in uncongested areas and areas where your van will be visible to other drivers. Avoid stopping where passengers will have to step into traffic when boarding or exiting. When stopping, signal well in advance and move to the right of the lane early. Slow gradually to allow other traffic to react and to ensure your passengers a safe, smooth ride. If you get out to help your passengers, set the parking brake, turn off the engine, and take your keys. Check traffic before getting out of the van. Move close enough to the curb so your passengers can step from the van to the curb easily, or far enough away so that they can step easily into the road between the van and the curb. Do not wave exiting passengers across the road in front of you. You cannot control the actions of other drivers. If storing passengers' luggage, store the big pieces behind the last seat. Do not allow passenger garments to cover windows on the right side of the van, which is a blind spot area. Before leaving a stop, make sure all doors are latched and that all passengers are seated and buckled up. Choose a brake in traffic adequate enough for your van to accelerate and merge smoothly into traffic. Avoid rapid starts. Treat your passengers with courtesy and respect. Now, let's review the self-appraisal questions you took earlier on page 3. Please correct your answers. Question 1. There are differences in blind spots, weight, size, stopping distance, and center of gravity. Question 2. Because many variables can affect reaction time, it would be difficult to guess exactly what yours would be. Some of the variables are age, physical ability, and level of fatigue. Question 3. Become familiar with the blind spots around the van you drive. Pay particular attention to your side blind spots and those created by window dividers. And remember, your passengers can create additional blind spots. If you are expecting to drive different van types, become familiar with their blind spots before driving. Question 4. Vehicles can hydroplane at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour. When roads are wet, reduce your speed. If your vehicle begins to hydroplane, cover your brake to reduce your speed. Do not brake. It could force you into a skid. Question 5. When faced with a potentially hazardous situation, you can reduce your reaction distance by placing your foot over the brake or covering the brake. This allows you to slow your vehicle and enables you to stop more quickly as necessary. Question 6. Lane 2. In this lane, all other turning traffic will be to your left, out of your right blind spot and more visible to you. Question 7. In ideal conditions, the recommended following distance is 4 seconds. Question 8. Following distance should be increased any time conditions are not ideal, such as in adverse weather, while driving at night, or if you have a tailgater. Question 9. This question is open-ended, allowing you to review in your mind what you think are critical safety techniques when driving a van. Question 10. Add 1 second to the recommended following distance, 5 seconds. Question 11. In the city, you should scan 1 to 1.5 blocks ahead, which is about 12 to 15 seconds ahead. On the open roadway, you should scan 1/4 of a mile ahead, which is about 12 to 15 seconds ahead. Question 12. Inside the van, you should check your safety and emergency equipment, the driver's seat position, the adjustment of the mirrors inside and outside, your gauges, horn, windshield wiper, lights, and defroster. Check your brakes, and make sure all loose items are secured. Outside the van, you should check underneath for oil leaks and loose parts. Check all the windows, lights, and mirrors for damage and/or dirt. Check the condition of your tires, inflation and tread depth, and the tire lugs and studs. Check all compartments and panels. Check your headlights and taillights, your turn signals and emergency flashers, and all doors. In the engine area, check all fluid levels. When the engine is cool, check the radiator. Check hoses and cable connections for excessive wear. Check that the fan belt is in good condition. Question 13. A cushion of safety is the area around your van that you should try to keep free of other vehicles and pedestrians. Maintaining a safe following distance is perhaps the most critical part of your cushion of safety, and the one over which you have the most control. Question 14. Do not wave the pedestrian across the street. If a person is in a crosswalk or attempts to cross in front of you, you, of course, must stop. However, it is not safe to stop to wave a jaywalker across the street. It may seem like a courteous thing to do, but you may be putting that person in jeopardy. Other drivers may not know why you have stopped and could pass right into the path of the pedestrian. Question 15. Perception distance plus reaction distance plus braking distance equals total stopping distance. Perception distance is the distance your van travels from the time you spot a hazard until you realize it may be a problem. Reaction distance is the distance your van travels as you move your foot from the accelerator and depress the brake pedal. Braking distance is the distance your van travels after the brakes take hold until your vehicle stops. Question 16. If you are traveling 50 miles per hour, you will have gone 55 feet in the time it takes you to move your foot from the accelerator to the brake pedal.
Now you're ready to take the final test. You will be recording your answers on the special answer sheet provided. However, you must first fill out all of the required information. We scan this information to get your return address to send you the results. On the front side of the sheet, there is a block that asks for the test identification number. Here is the test ID number for this test. Right now, use a number 2 pencil and fill in the top of the column with the number, and then fill in the bubbles below that correspond to this number. After you have completed both sides of the answer sheet with the information requested, turn to the last 2 pages of your response book and record your answers to the 20 questions on the answer sheet. When you have completely filled out both sides of the answer sheet, please return it to P.O. Box 2233, Princeton, New Jersey, 08543-2233 in the envelope provided. Please note that the envelope does require postage. At no cost, we will score the test and return the results, including a certificate of completion for those who pass. Thank you for participating in this course.